Hey, we're live on Leadership from the Heart. Welcome, Renee, my dear friend Renee Funk out of Orlando, Florida. And I am very excited to have my dear friend Terrence Murphy in College Station, Texas with us today. Terrence, how are you?
I'm doing great. Doing awesome. It's hot, but everything's good.
It's hot,
Hey,
yeah. But
Terrence.
this is our opportunity, Terrence, to like brainwash and say as many gigums as we want. So, we don't get that opportunity here in Austin much. So I'm looking forward to this. But so for those of you that don't know Terrence Murphy, if you went to Texas A&M or you ever had any exposure to Texas A&M, you know who Terrence Murphy is. He's a legend at our school. He is one of the best receivers that Texas A&M has ever seen. He's done some amazing things on and off the field. And I've gotten to know Terrence over the years. And I'm just excited for you to be here with us and share your story and your style of leadership. You've led in so many different ways. So thank you for joining us today.
It's an honor to be on, and thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Renee. And it's always good anytime you give a chance to tell your story, because what I've learned, if you can just impact one person, then that's the whole reason why you have a story, is to inspire people, and then someone can take a nugget from what your life is about or what you've accomplished or learned from, and it could help them grow.
Well, I love that. And so tell us your story. I mean, because from where you've come, where you started and where you kind of built, and you were going in one different direction and life took you in a different direction. And instead of, just being defeated, you took that as an opportunity and you've done some amazing things. So tell us that, kind of take us through that journey a little bit.
Yeah, so born and raised in East Texas, single mom, raised 4 kids on her own. She was a hardworking lady, but very studious. She was an accountant. And really taught me a lot, taught me that wherever you put your mind to, you can accomplish. And then obviously, I came to Texas A&M on a football scholarship, but not a lot of people know my first couple scholarships were all academic scholarships. Came to Texas A&M, was blessed to have a really good career here. I think I set a lot of records and was so-called one of the top receivers in the history of our school. But once again, I was 3-time academic all-conference also, so that's more important to me. And then went off to the NFL, got drafted with Aaron Rodgers. He's still playing. He's obviously going to be a Hall of Famer. Brett Favre was my quarterback. Had a neck injury, retired, and just, decided to transition. And the biggest thing I was trying to find is, as I started really diving into financial literacy, is something that I could not only invest my money into, but also something I could be passionate about. And God led me to real estate. So a lot of times people ask me how I got to real estate, and I truly can say, my biggest prayer to God was give me something I could be passionate about. And when he led me to real estate, I've been getting after it ever since.
I love that, because real estate, usually people don't think about that, but you and your wife were big investors and, kind of were building that legacy for you too, right? I mean, was that really your goal, just investing in real estate, or did you have big dreams to open up what is now TM5, very, very well respected, and the top team? You're the top independent broker in and around College Station, correct?
Yes.
Right. So was that your goal, or did that just kind of lead you there because of the investment strategies?
I think the biggest thing a lot of times is people where they struggle with jumping off the cliff is they want everything figured out before they make the jump. But what we've learned is the best entrepreneurs, you jump and then you create the wings on the way down. And so for us, when we were trying to make that transition, is just trying to really understand how to invest our money ourselves. I had seen so many guys in the NFL just give their money to people and then they look up and they had none left. Yeah. And I decided that, look, if I'm going to be retired, I retired at 23. So it's like, all right, I got to figure out what's next for me. And I read Robert Kiyosaki, Who Took My Money, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that book changed my life. It set me on a path towards real estate. So we built a considerable investment portfolio of student housing. And in the midst of that, developing, building, people would always ask me, hey, can you help me do what you're doing? And I was like, well, I don't have a license. And so in 2010, I got my license, went to Keller Williams for a year. And then after being there for like a year, I found a loophole. An attorney would hold my license in Dallas, and then I could create my own brokerage. So I actually started TM5 with less than a year and a half into the real estate sales industry. And then we're on pace to hit $1 billion in sales this year.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Kudos to you. And I love how you're sharing the thought about, jumping off the cliff and then growing your wings as you're soaring, right? Like that's such an important mindset. I think that oftentimes leaders can fall into a trap of allowing that fear to step in. So you clearly lead in a way that fear is not in your driver's seat, Terrence. Fear is not in your driver's seat, is it?
No, I think, you really understand as you get older why you went through certain things growing up as a child. And I truly can look at where God was strategic about certain things that he took me through in life. And then one of them was like when I got to Texas A&M, like no one even knew. I never played the position until I got to A&M. I was a quarterback my whole life. But I just knew in my heart of hearts that I could do it. And I worked my butt off. We graduated on a Friday, and I had my car packed on a Saturday. And I literally drove to College Station and slept on some guy's couch. I had some guys on the team that I knew. Said, hey, can I sleep on your couch? I'll help you get groceries. And I started working out with the team, and I was one of the first recruits here. So those are the type of sacrifices that I've made to make that transition and really try to be make that transition a lot smoother.
So talk about TM5 for a minute. You got to brag on it because I watch your success and I've watched it over the years, and it's pretty awesome what you guys have done. I mean, so it's not just TM5. You've got the building asset. You've got all these different arms to TM5. Mm-hmm. So be proud and brag on that for a little bit. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's always cool, and thank you, Elizabeth, for pushing me in that direction. I truly can say, like, when people ask me who my mentors are, if I could turn this around, I would. But I have a library on this wall, and it's over 550 books. Mm-hmm. And so while a lot of my teammates at 23 were going out to drink, and I'm not judging that, like, go, live. I was spending my money on $7 books, $6 books, Amazon. I probably spent more money on the shipping than I did on the book. But it'd be a $5 book. I pay $8 in shipping, but it changed my life. And so to say all that is God really has just been my mentor. He's given me ideas, and then I'm fearless in executing those ideas. But yeah, TM5, we now have 14 entities. And I think we've expanded a lot since you and I talked last. Yeah. So we have TM5 Properties, which is our real estate brokerage arm. Then we have a rental locator team. We have a property management team called Asset Hero Property Management. We've just grown that from like 100 units to almost 500 units in the last 12 months. We have Murphy Signature Homes, which is our construction company building modern contemporary houses between $600K to $750. And then we have our customs that go all the way up to about $4 million. And then we have Jones & Associates, which is an insurance arm, and the list goes on. So if it's in and around real estate, we have it. But TM5 in particular was when I started it. I knew I was onto something when I left Keller Williams, and I was an individual agent selling real estate, answering the phones, being a janitor, doing it all myself. No leads. I didn't buy any Zillow leads, and I went from a $1 million agent my first year in production to $21 million in volume. Yeah. So I said, okay, I'm on to something that's different. How did I just scale my business? And so I hired two other ladies that are still with me today. They're both brokers. And I said, guys, I don't know how to run a brokerage, but I'm pretty sure I know something I'm doing is different. And I tried those same kind of systems and coaching on them, and their businesses just blew out of the roof. And so we just kind of started doing it organically, one at a time. We've never really recruited, and we just scaled. And so we're busting at the seams now in College Station, and most likely we'll be expanding into Houston, San Antonio, my hometown, East Texas, Tyler, pretty soon.
Terrence, when you talk about that growth, and specifically you referenced that was a tremendous trajectory that you had really early on, what was one of the lessons you learned through that explosive growth?
Mm-hmm. The cool thing I've learned is, and Warren Buffett has a quote, and I'm probably going to butcher it, other than a genius with no plan will be beat by someone with a plan any day. And so for me, it was taking those books and taking those things and trying to create an execution plan. And the one thing I knew that I had is hard work. Work ethic was never something that has been an issue for me. But in execution, because you can work hard all day, but if you're running in the wrong direction, you're not going to ever achieve anything. So I really kind of tried to manage those two and try to get focused on execution. And then when I really knew I was onto something was when I was able to execute it through other people. Yeah. Because that's when you can, as a leader, get called at a ceiling. When you can't scale through other people is where you get stuck.
That's a good reminder. And I think you've hit on something there. And, let's talk about how you're leading. I go back to the football because that was so much of your life, right? And you were going that direction for so long. And who knows, you might have been still in that direction had you not had that injury.
Yep.
But talk about some of the similarities, because you were definitely a leader on the field. You were definitely a leader while you were at Texas A&M. People looked up to you. They respected you. They still do today from all over the world. Talk about some of those similarities where on the field and then also within TM5 that you're experiencing and you took from there and you're implementing today.
Well, I was able to be around some great players, some great coaches. R.C. Slocum is a legend. If you watch college football, not just Texas A&M, you know who he is. He's like a father to me. He loved on me when I was 17, 18 and taught me how to really be a man when you have good news and bad news. One of the things I learned from him is he will coach you in the same breath where I love you and you did great, or Terrence, I expect more from you, but he never demeans you. It never was and I've learned to really try to model that as a leader. There's a time and a place to encourage people and challenge them, but if you tell it to them in the right tone, they'll receive it a lot better than you feeling like you're making it not only personal, but like it's a direction like you're talking down to them. No one really wants to feel talked down to, because even though they may not be doing what you want them to do, I'm pretty sure in their heart of hearts they want to and they want to execute it. And so I really had to learn that, because when I was in high school, I was a quarterback, and obviously I was probably the most athletic kid on the team. I did a lot of research in football, so when guys would not do like the basic stuff, I would get so frustrated. And I learned going into my senior year, I remember, and I'm telling this analogy to make a point. Going into my senior year, I would always get mad at the offensive lineman. Like, how did you let me get hit in the back? And the next play would happen again. And the next play happened again. So then my senior year, I said, you know what? I'm going to try to speak positive over them. So when they would miss a block, I'm like, that's okay. You can do it. Next time you got it. And man, you should have saw the shift in the way that they fought to keep people off my back. So I just really learned a lot at an early age on it's all about how you approach people.
You're saying, yes, you've got it, being encouraging, and inside you're praying, please keep them off the back.
Please.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
You have really, really strong skills at filtering your thoughts too. I love it.
That's the benefit of football. Like for us, I'm playing in front of 100,000 people and there's millions on TV. And me being a skill position, when the ball is going anywhere during the game, everybody's watching the football. No one's watching the offensive lineman if he's blocking over here. So when I would get the ball, I was forced to have that type of pressure and quick thinking, because you got to make decisions fast. And it's really helped me as an entrepreneur and as a leader of TM5, because I'm very matter of fact. There is not a lot of one thing at TM5 I always tell everybody, every problem has a solution. You just have to be creative enough to find it. And so when they know they can bring me any issue, but you got to have a solution attached to it.
That's a great reminder too. Every problem can be solved, right? Is come together with a resolution mindset. I talk to my kids about that sometimes, when it might seem something that they're bickering that seems so minuscule, right? I'll say, you know what, instead of us focusing on the challenge, let's focus on a resolution mindset. How can we start thinking about a way to resolve it and collaborate on that? Focus your energy into that mindset. It's very smart.
I think that's great, Renee, and I always train my agents. So for the first 8 years of our brokerage, we're right at about 8 years that we've had our company. I did all the training, the one-on-one coaching, the training. No one ever trained, ever. We just started a leadership series where some of our senior agents are helping us with mentors and training. But one of the things I told everybody, real estate sales, you're in the business of solving problems. Mm-hmm. And if you cannot solve problems in this industry, in any service industry, then you need to go do something else.
Yeah.
So Terrence, let's dive in a little bit on, it's obviously been a challenging last 60, 90 days. And you are navigating a lot of business adversity, as we all are. Mm-hmm. What have been some of the lessons that have come out of overcoming these last 60, 90 days with the pandemic, and any kind of leadership lessons that you might share with us?
Yes, for leaders, the first thing I would say is communication and contact. The more and more I pursue my agents more than ever, because I know if you let them kind of wander in their thoughts, then it can be filled with the wrong thoughts.
Yeah.
So we really went out of our way. I even had them all out to our ranch. We have a ranch outside of town to come fish and ride four-wheelers and hang out. Just because I was just trying to spend that time with them and let them know not only did I care about them, but I wanted to hear what they were going through.
Yeah.
And as a leader, that's important. You have to have empathy and really understand, because everybody's got individual situations going on. The other thing is communicating. Like I told them, you guys got to be calling your clients like never before, past and current. And so we really just focused on those two words, communication and contact.
Are they being pretty receptive to that, or were you experiencing a lot of fear? Because that's something Renee and I've talked about. It depends on who you're talking to, but you're getting emotions from all levels. You know, some are super content, some are really fearful. Were you getting a range of emotions as well?
Originally we were, but that's why that's why we call it Huddle.
Yeah.
So we don't have sales meetings. So we call it Huddle. And I'll give you the analogy on why. So in football, people, after the play is over with, you get in a circle and you see guys, and one guy's down on the ground, everybody's kind of in a huddle. Well, people they don't really understand what we're talking about. Well, we're talking about how to create a game plan to win the next play. So what we call it family huddle. So we huddle and we talk about how to win the next day, the next week, the next month. So we really ramped that up through Zoom and really spent a lot of time really trying to communicate what our thoughts should be and really focusing on, we honestly saw it as an opportunity in our market, because right now there's about 265 companies that register or sell in our MLS every year. We've been number one independent for 4 years in a row, but we're top 3. So we're number 3 out of the top, 3 out of 260. And we really felt like we could gain some market share just by doing the basics, research, sending more CMAs, communicating with clients. And then the last big thing that we focused on is doing things in the community, really trying to be out front and not be in a fear mindset like we can't leave the house. Like we were out doing food drives and things like that really kind of got us out there in front of some people.
Giving back to the community.
Yeah.
That's so great.
I love that you call it Huddle, because Renee has a team. I have agents, and I don't have a team. You know that about me, but we still have our own teams. And every morning we all get together across the country for Huddle, and we call it Huddle, same thing.
Love it.
Not from a football standpoint, but
you
don't want to play football, but I love that's kind of where you took it from, and it makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, get together and let's communicate and let's talk about how we're gonna, we've even did the 5 a.m. challenge where we literally started a group meet. Everybody who wanted to participate, it was voluntary, obviously, and we woke up at 5 a.m. and we read one chapter of a book, and then we would talk about the notes, and then we said, all right, today everybody's got to get 30 minutes of working out, no matter what it is. You just be walking down the street and back. So just those are the kind of things that we really feel like our culture is different, and we really focused on that.
And you're incorporating accountability structure, right? Mm-hmm. Where it seems like you're wanting everybody to succeed and be there and have that support system that they might not feel elsewhere.
It's tough to replicate what I've learned in this industry, because we're all independent contractors.
Right.
But I think if you can create a mindset when you're top producers, and I'm still a producing broker. People understand is even though I run a brokerage, I'm still the number 1 agent in the market, or I'm top 1 or 2 every year. And I think to me that was important, because I feel like if you're going to lead from out front, you got to make sure you're doing what you're telling other people to do. Yeah. And then I wanted to create a culture where no matter where you're at on the totem pole, you put back in the bucket, is what we call it.
Walking the walk is super important. Terrance, when you forecast out over the next 3 or 6 months, what changes do you see in the real estate industry, or what changes are you potentially focused on?
For us, Farmer Ranch has been a big deal around here. It's really taken off. So that's been the main focus for us.
Are you adjusting anything as far as how you're operating, or you just are so invested in your culture, and you've already had that culture going into the pandemic and how things have gone for the last few months, that you just know that in the future you're going to kind of all still stay strong together? Or are you tweaking how business is done?
Yeah, and I want to hit back on Renee a little bit. So one of the things, not only just form a ranch, but really understanding where the market is going. So we really dominated the luxury market around here. And in the middle of all this, luxury houses in our market, the kind of 1 million and up, is still moving.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was because people were pulling their money out of the stock market or what, but it was still selling. And so really kind of doubling down on that. Because it's just natural. If you come to TM5 Properties, no matter what brokerage you come from, your average sales price is going to almost go up at least 45%. That's based on our statistic. Just because if you're somewhere else and you're on average doing $300,000 houses, you're going to come to us and you're naturally going to start moving up on a higher price point. So that's important. And then the way that we are doing the brokerage moving forward, more Zoom meetings. Like we did a big Google Hangout today. We're working on a big condo development project that we're all going to kind of partner up. And like I like bringing back these big projects, and then I assign it to 3 or 4 of my agents. So more of this. And then I would say we've actually done, we call them culture events, where we would do like, we did the row class one time. Then we went to D1 and did a workout. Then we had a pool party, and then we go bowling nights. We're starting to ramp more of the culture events up. Just getting outside the office, not having a happy hour and drinking, but actually doing stuff that you can bring the family, because we're family oriented because we got 3 kids under 9.
Working hard and playing hard together. It creates that family culture. Speaking of the little ones, you've got 3 little ones, right? I mean, you're busy. So what are you hoping that they learn from you in business and in leadership? So
for our kids, one of the things we've learned is God makes them all different.
Oh, yes. God has a sense of humor, doesn't he?
You cannot try to parent them the same. And they all have different gifts, and we've learned to love them in their gifts that they have. But for us, if I can leave a legacy, like one of the things that we started doing as an idea I got from my pastors, we have family huddle on Sundays. So on Sundays for like 30 minutes, we meet with our kids and we have a scripture reading. We talk about what's going on in our lives. We have 3 basic questions we ask each other. And it's really opened up dialogue with our kids that'll give them a safe place to talk about what's going on in their life.
Right.
And we do something fun at the end. So like we got these like snowballs. They look like real snowballs, but they're fake. So we have snowball fight, or we go, get in the pool. We just something that is giving them a place, because it's so tough at times because we just are all going. We're just running. But we realize our kids are going to grow up fast. Yep. So what we want to leave in their hearts is we want them to know Christ. We want them to understand hard work and integrity. And we want them at the end of the day to make an impact in their sphere of influence. And we always say sphere of influence because a lot of times people set out to try to take over the world. And I think just focus on your sphere of influence. And if God is intended for you to do more with that, then he will.
Well, once you focus on your own sphere of influence, it cascades out, right? I mean, you are a servant leader, and so your efforts will cascade throughout. I love that you have a family huddle, Terrance. As Elizabeth mentioned, my husband and I are team leaders here in Orlando, and we've been facilitating a team huddle nearly every single morning for about 3 years. I hadn't thought about implementing that same format at home. You mentioned 3 questions you asked the kiddos. Do they always change, or is it the same 3 questions?
Yeah, we got 3 same questions. Our scripture reading changes. We start off with a worship song that changes, but we have those same 3 questions.
Can we ask what they are?
No, I don't mind. Actually, I'll read them to you. Let's see if I can find my phone.
Well, you find them. I'll share with you. This, again, very different, but in our huddle every morning for work, we ask 3 questions, and that is, what successes have you had? What challenges have you had? And how can we help each other?
Yep. I love it.
That's how we have our morning huddles.
So the first question is, what's one thing you're thankful for this week? Because we want to start off with a gratitude mindset.
Yeah.
Because with kids these days, obviously, there's the technology and things, and we want them to understand, what are you thankful for? So we start off there. And then what's one thing that's happening in your life that we need to know about? That's probably been the best question to ask. Like we had one of our baby girls was having some issues at school with somebody bullying her. That never would have came up had we not had a setting to be able to communicate with her about it. And then what's one thing that we need to discuss or pray about? And we focus on those 3 questions. They've been really good. And it's funny because even our 3-year-old, which blows us away, some of his answers were like, we didn't even know that he even knew to even think about that kind of stuff. So it's been good.
How old are your kids? You have a 3-year-old. What other ages?
Yeah, 3, 6, and 9.
Wow. You are running and facilitating and leading a successful business and a dad of 3 youngins.
Yeah.
Which one is most like you?
My son, Terrence Jr.
He's cute. I watched some of those things. I mean, he's really, you're going to have your hands full, but he's pretty.
He's already challenging me. And he tells me that he's like, I'm going to take over the company. Like, this dude's 3 years old. And he's like already telling me what he's going to do. So, but yeah, he's the most like me. He is me. He's a spitting image of me for sure.
Sounds like he's very tenacious. That will serve him well.
It will. It will.
So, Terrence, looking at the real estate industry, we know you have a lot of awesome growth planned for TM5. Do you or have you identified any shifts in the market or in the industry that you're kind of paying attention to as you navigate the growth in your company?
Yeah, I would say I'm really trying to watch new construction. I think even College Station in general, there was a time for like 2-3 years in a row, we were like the #1 city or top 3 city in America per capita for new building permits. Yeah. At some point, the absorption rate is gonna start to soften. So new construction, but we have a great migration of people coming to Texas at the same time. So I'm really trying to make sure I understand the economics around new construction, because I think to me, between that and the interest rates, those are 2 things that really can affect our markets.
Yeah.
It's interesting, Renee, because I've gone down to some of the presentations and things that Terrence has done, and we all know real estate. We've all been doing real estate for a long time. We all know business. We all 3 on this show right now serve from our hearts. I mean, we're very similar in that regard. But when you want to talk about markets, our 3 markets couldn't be more different. Renee, you've got the Orlando. I mean, you've got the second home, really that type of market. Terrence, it was eye-opening to me when I've been down there, because yours is really the student housing and just how you've kind of embraced that and run with it. And you guys, even your lingo is different. You're talking about beds versus, all these other things. I'm like, hold on, what are they talking about now? But it's pretty interesting because, yes, we all know our industry. We know our strengths, but our industry is so varied and so diverse. And you can still learn from others, even if it's not what's going on in your market. So Terrence is really, really knowledgeable in that college space. I mean, you're knowledgeable in a lot of areas, but when I've heard you speak on that, it's been eye-opening to me, because luxury, yes, I do luxury. Residential, yes, I do residential. Those things, but what you were talking about was something so foreign to me, and it was just really cool to learn from. So you are definitely a powerhouse in your market. So definitely one to reach out to.
No, and I appreciate it. And I think the biggest thing is, like, me and my wife came to a conclusion the other day. So I've personally now, at this point in my career, I think I'm at about 280 million in volume, just me as an individual agent. And then I've built over 100 projects as a builder or general contractor. We have over 300 some beds of property that I've built, developed, and managed. So I understand the leasing of it, the management of it. I've really tried to kind of really become an expert at each phase to the puzzle. I was a hard money lender for 3 years in 2006, 7, and 8, when I was still like 22, 23 years old. And the list goes on. I actually have my insurance license. Not a lot of people know that, but I got it 2 years ago. I just want to be in a place where I can truly be an advisor to my clients and to my agents. So when I'm walking them through stuff, I can speak from a place of research and wisdom, and I'm not, just talking off the cuff. So that's real important for me.
We talk about providing resources and being that person, that go-to person for our clients. And I'm surrounded by those resources. You're just the resource. You're okay, license. Okay, I've got that. So, I mean, you're really speaking the truth when you're talking about that. That's pretty awesome. I love seeing what you're doing. I mean, like I said, we've been friends, but I also love seeing you in the business world, just doing things and taking bold leaps. Like you said, there's no fear. An entrepreneur, it's a mindset, right? I mean, you're like, okay, what can I do now? How can I grow? How can I impact others? And it really shows.
Yeah, I think once again, I'll go back to, those God moments in my life where, it only happened because of him, but I had to have the legs and the faith to walk through the door.
Right.
And I think a lot of times as believers, and I'm not trying to preach, but I think at times, even in this industry, we want God to steer a parked car. It's like, you got to take the car out of the garage and start going, and then he can guide you. So for me, I'm pretty fearless at this point in my life. I've always been that way, but even after my injury, I got paralyzed.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people know that I was paralyzed neck down, and going through that process, it's like, if you don't come out the backside of that with some faith, then I don't know what will create that. So I have no fear when it comes to anything in life. I just go for it.
You were given a second chance, and you're embracing every piece of that.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Okay, so we ask a question, Terrance, to our guests, which it's a hot seat question. I hope that you can handle this one. And I know we're looking forward to your answer. What does leadership from the heart mean to you?
Okay. I think leadership from the heart means to me, first off, is embodying what you're asking people who are following you to do. I keep going back to athletics. No judgment, but I remember in middle school, there was a guy who had us doing these crazy workouts, screaming in our face, spitting in our face, telling us we can't do it. And it's tough. Like I always tell people, it'd be as if you went and hired a trainer at Gold's Gym or wherever to train you, to say, hey, I want to lose 10 pounds or I want to get in shape. And you show up and that trainer is out of shape. No disrespect to that trainer, but you cannot not be in shape and tell me how to do it. So I think as a leader from the heart, you got to make sure you're trying to, and I always say trying, because you'll never have it done to 100%. So really trying to execute what you're coaching and asking people to do. And then I always go back to one of the basic rules of life in scripture is treat people like you want to be treated. If you want to be treated a certain way, make sure you're treating them that way. And so when I have these hard conversations and hard situations with people that I'm leading, I always say, how would I want them to approach me if I were in their shoes? And then as a leader, wherever God takes you, however successful you are, don't think you got there on your own. Somebody helped you get to where you are at. And that is always humbling to think about, because if you can always, kind of like the gratitude question we talked about it from our family huddle, if you can approach leadership from that perspective, then you'll never be, it's all about me. So
that's such a perfect question or a perfect answer. And it's always staying humble. And that's one of the things that's one of your gifts. You've done some pretty amazing things in your life. You've impacted a lot of people in your life, and you continue to do amazing things, but you're always gracious. You're always humble. I love that you came on with us. It speaks to your character. So we're very blessed. I'm blessed to have you as a friend, but I'm also blessed that you came and shared with everybody today with us.
Thank y'all so much for the opportunity. And, one of the things I'll close with is, with everything going on in this world, like, we got to love each other. We're all in this thing together. This isn't a us versus them. This is all of us on the same side of the fence. Because at the end of the day, we're all humans and we're all children of God. And that's really how I try to approach it all. So thank y'all for the opportunity. And if I can help y'all in any way, y'all know I would love to.
That comes right back to you. Is anything we can do to help you, always feel free to reach out. You shared some really inspiring thoughts, a lot of golden nuggets as well. And I just want to say kudos to you and continued success in your growth. You have a very inspiring story, and we're grateful you shared it with us. Thank you.
Thank y'all so much.
Bye, friend. Thank you. See you soon.